Greetings, B-movie aficionados.
Hello, welcome to A Couple of Flicks. I'm Tristan.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Zach.
So today's episode is basically a Halloween episode. It won't be our last, but I suppose this episode could also, in a way, almost be a 420. So.
Yeah. Did we do one of those this year?
I don't think we did. So maybe we could call this our belated Halloween 420.
There we go.
So who wants to say the title of the movie we are discussing?
Is Idle Hands.
Mm-hmm. Which came out in 1999. So that's a year nobody will forget. So had either you seen this movie before? I think we all have, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. When was the last time either one of you had seen it?
Watched it last year around this time.
Nice.
Oh, high school probably. I think I've seen it once, long time ago. Don't remember much of it.
Yeah, I think I saw it probably about like 15 or 16 years ago, I want to say. So I don't remember exactly, but it was something like that. But yeah, so I guess before we talk about this film, I should kind of mention that, like, something kind of interesting about it is that it came out 10 days before Columbine, and I like the way I'd heard about this movie was, I guess, after it came out, like there was a bunch of controversy because it came out like shortly after Columbine, and so a lot of people felt like it was like really tasteless or something. So for some reason, this movie was in the news, and that was the first time I'd ever heard of it. That's what made me want to see it back then. So
I'd probably explain the box office numbers that I'm seeing.
Yeah,
Budget was 25 million. Box office was 4.2.
Yeah.
So
damn,
that explained that, because this definitely, I wouldn't say it's a bomb, but it was.
Yeah.
I liked it well enough.
Yeah, I remember back then, like, thinking it was kind of stupid, but watching it nowadays, like, all this time later has actually been kind of interesting. So, yeah, it is kind of an odd movie because I guess it's supposed to be a spoof, but I don't know. It doesn't really skimp on the horror, though, at least in my opinion. It kind of exaggerates the horror a little bit, but it doesn't skimp on it so much. So, but I guess we could just go right into the plot. I don't know. So I guess, all right. So the film starts off like at the beginning. It's like Halloween, or it's near Halloween, and it's like this mom and dad are going to bed, and there's a cat that yowls at the mom at one point, and it was like the most ridiculous jump scare ever. Does a cat just randomly yowl like that? Cats make all kinds of weird noises, but I don't know, I just found that moment hilarious for some reason. So
yeah, cat's name was Bones.
Yeah. And they had a dog too. It's the dog's name, like Duke or something like that.
Yeah, I think, Duke. Yep.
Yeah. So basically, the movie opens with this mother and father. They're like an older couple, getting killed, more or less.
Yep. And the dad was Fred Willard.
Yeah. Yeah, so we get a couple little funny Fred Willard reactions. So, but he's not really in it much. It's
No.
a pretty brief role, like 2 minutes at most. And so yeah, and I think I don't remember exactly what happened. The mom like gets pulled under the bed or something. That was like the main thing I remembered.
Yeah, they had some like black like painting on the roof. Said I'm under the bed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they like look up at the ceiling and see that. Yeah, and I think that's what like gets them to search their house, because I guess so. It turns out there's like a serial killer on the loose, and so at the beginning of the movie, you're kind of led to believe that these two people got murdered by the serial killer. Although if you know what the movie's about, like if you'd seen the trailers and stuff like that, then you pretty much already know like what that is. But the film itself kind of takes its time revealing that. So that was something I forgot about it. Like for some reason I remembered the movie opening with, the guy running around and killing people, but yeah, it turns out you don't really see who the killer is. So it kind of pulls Child's Play a little bit, like how the first Child's Play, like you don't see Chucky kill anybody, and then when you do start a little bit. So I guess the main character is their kid, who he's basically just stoned all the time, like, and just doesn't even notice that they're dead. And
yeah, the guy he's from the dude from Final Destination, right? The first one.
Oh yeah, Devin Sawa. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I always remember him as the kid from Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Isn't he in the new Chucky series too?
I think so. Yeah. Memory
Speaking
serves.
of Chucky.
Yeah. He was also in.
he is. Yeah, he's in the series. Yeah.
Yeah. He was also in that John Travolta movie, The Fanatic.
Oh yeah, that everyone hates.
Yeah. Although I actually thought it was kind of interesting.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, like it was. I mean, I could see why people didn't like it, but I don't know. It was like uniquely entertaining, I thought. I don't know. Maybe entertaining is not the right word, but anyway. So he's the main character, and he's too stoned to even notice that his parents are dead. And I guess we're meant to assume that they've been dead for at least like a couple days now by this point. And he's kind of just sort of sobering up, but because he's out of weed, and so he manages to find the focus to wander over to his buddy's house. So he's got a couple friends. Do you want to say their names?
Mick and Peanut.
Yeah. Or Panub.
Panub,
as they keep calling him. And he goes over to their house. That's
I read let me see. I read how they came up with that name.
Oh yeah.
Oh, because it was from an SNL skit where Eddie Murphy played like Buckwheat from the Little Rascals, who sang "Looking for Love" and sings it "Wookin' Panub" in all the wrong places. And that's where I guess they named it, because if you say Mick and Panub,
yeah,
it sounds like that skit.
That's funny. So they came up with Panub from the Saturday Night Live skit. That's funny. And he's played by the dude from Freak the Mighty. I forget what his name is. Eldon something.
Eldon Henson.
Yeah, Eldon Henson. Yeah,
I know him from that Daredevil series.
Yeah, it's Foggy.
Oh yeah. I think he was in one of the Hunger Games movies too. I think that might have been like one of the last things I saw him on besides the Daredevil.
He's in Butterfly Effect too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot he was in that. Yeah. He's like the guy who goes crazy. Well, I mean, all the characters go crazy in that movie, but he's the one who like pretty much is crazy the whole time. Like even in the present day or what was supposed to be the present, or I don't know, however that movie worked. I still don't really understand that one. But regardless, he was in that one too. And then the Mick guy was played by somebody who actually he was in that movie Ticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Buffy. I've been watching a lot of Buffy, and it literally I
Yeah.
just watched the episode because he leaves around the time this movie came out, that series, because I think he started getting movie roles.
Yeah.
Like
Austin Power.
yeah, I just watched the episode where he left too. So he leaves in '99 in the run of Buffy, like season 4, where this movie came out in '99. The second
Yeah.
Austin Powers came out in '99. So
Yeah. Seth Green. Wow.
Seth Green popping off.
He got busy. But like both of them get put in some pretty wild makeup later on, so that's kind of cool. But I don't know. Seth Green seems to have always kind of, I don't know, the fact that he was in Ticks before this kind of, I don't know, just makes me feel like he should be in more horror movies, because I feel like I don't see him in that much other than like Buffy and a lot of other kind of, like, I feel like he mostly does comedies.
Yeah, definitely
Although-
nowadays. Yeah.
Started to get typecast.
Yeah, pretty much. But I don't know. I would have liked to have seen him in more horror comedies. But they talk about the killer in town. Devin Sawa says something funny about the twins at the fast food joint jerking off in the milkshake machine. And then they tell him that they're out of weed, but they convince him that if he mixes nutmeg and granola or something
Oregano.
like that, nutmeg and oregano, which sounds just disgusting in and of itself, but apparently like they tell him if you smoke that you get a pretty good high, so he's going to try that later. But of course when he leaves they find out that like they reveal that they have a bag already, that they're about to start smoking. So that's a good indication of what kind of a loser Anton is he's so lazy that nobody even wants to share their weed with him.
Yeah, and he even went over there in his boxers.
Yeah.
Didn't even get dressed.
Yeah, and actually one thing I noticed about him in this movie is he never changes clothes. Like he spends the whole movie in just the long sleeve and boxers, basically.
Well,
Like,
no, he
even
got
later
those
on.
pants. He got the pants from his friend. He's like, "Don't you want to give my? You can take
Oh,
my
yeah.
pants to go meet this girl." He's like, "Oh yeah, okay, thanks."
Yeah, I remember that. That's true. But like he never takes the shirt off though. Even after he gets like blood and gore all over it. It's just kind of funny to me. Like, yeah, just a funny detail. But and he's like using the back scratcher on his nuts at one point too. There was something that happened. What was it? Oh yeah, a couple buddies from school. Actually, they aren't buddies. They were dorks, as he calls them. Turns out it's like a Clockwork Orange type of situation where now they're part of the police somehow. They're like cadets or something like that. Although they seem to have a lot of power. I mean, one of them comes equipped with a taser, so it's like, geez.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I don't know how old you have to be a full-blown cop, but they seem like full-blown cops. And he said
Yeah.
they were seniors when he was a freshman. So I don't know, 4 years.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that seems about right if they're new.
It's also possible that Anton is probably like old enough to be out of high school too. Like it's never really said exactly when he dropped out, so it could have been a few years prior.
I think he's still going in because they say he's just been tardy and doesn't go.
Oh, okay. I thought he dropped out for some reason. I don't know why.
Because he talks later to like one of the I don't know, one of the teachers. He's like, "If this is about my attendance, I'll talk later," or something.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
When they're at the dance or whatever.
All right. Yeah. I don't know. One of the people in the dance hall or something, or in the hallway. That's when that druid dude or the druid lady shows up.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll get to that.
And plus, those cops looked a lot older than what they would have been, in my opinion. They already look like fairly grown adults.
Yeah, that's true. Like, and they pretty much write him a ticket, like for littering, I guess. I mean, I don't know. They were trying to get him on possession, but he didn't have anything on him. So, But yeah, there's this druid character who's played by Vivica A. Fox, who I feel like does a lot of her best work in genre movies. Like, I always remember her in Kill Bill in particular. Like,
Yep.
but yeah, she's in this, and she pretty much. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. She's like a part of a druid clan trying to take out a demon, and I guess she's like following the pattern here into wherever this town is. Somewhere in California.
Yeah, it was funny. She's first introduced as a nun, but then she sees one of the guy's hands is all shriveled up, and so she starts taking all her shit off and saying, "Fuck this shit." And then in her van, she does she plots out all the points and does that stupid little oh my god, draws a pentagram to all the points.
Yeah. Which is like, it was kind of obvious that's where it went, 'cause at that point.
As soon as he started drawing them on the map, I was like, okay, here comes the pentagram.
Yeah. She's like, no way. She even gets a magnifying glass or whatever. It's like, okay. But so that's happening. So yeah, she's trying to kill this demon that appears to be jumping into people's hands. And so then we kind of slowly find out as it goes along while Anton is at his house. Once again, kind of
Jessica Alba. She's before even that. We get to see her. He tries to go to her house, give her like songbook she dropped or something, and he just runs off, not even saying a word to her.
I remember. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, the Jessica Alba character. It's like this girl who lives across the street from him, and he likes her lyrics. She was something about mud on her heels and gum on her shoes. Or something. I don't remember. It's kind of dorky, but yeah. So he gives her notebook back, and it's like, oh, how cute! Like 8 days a week. Woo! So he's hanging out at his house. He gets sick from smoking the oregano and nutmeg or whatever the hell it was. And of course, there's hints everywhere that his parents are dead, and he's just not even paying attention.
Yeah, there's like blood all over the floors.
Yeah,
like the cats and dogs licking it up and shit.
Yeah, the cat's like eating an eyeball or something.
Oh right, yeah. That.
Yeah,
that's when he finds out. Yeah,
there's that, and also like he tries to make a sandwich, and he looks at the knife, and there's blood on the knife, and so then he starts thinking that the guy is in his house, so he goes upstairs to hide. First he gets all freaked out by who he assumes is the killer. Later turns out to just be his buddies, but he runs upstairs, hides in the bed with the puppy. And then eventually, he realized, and I think somewhere in the midst of all that, he also knocks over a couple pumpkin people who turned out to be his parents that are stuffed in the pumpkins, and so their dead bodies are now on the floor, and he sees that and freaks out. And so then he goes upstairs. His buddies come in, or he eventually finds out that it's his friends, so he lets them in, and he tries to get them to notice his parents' dead bodies on the floor, and instead they're paying attention to a 2 Live Crew music video.
They're like, "Oh, I can't believe! I thought they took this off the air. I thought they weren't allowing this. Awesome."
Yeah. The pop. Well, I probably can't say the real name of the song, but it's
lots of twerking before twerking was a term.
Yeah, lots of bouncing breasts and butt cheeks. The censored version of the song "Pop That Coochie." Yeah. Actually, this movie has a lot of funny references in it. Like at one point, they also mentioned like Red Shoe Diaries or something. Like the pinup guy. He says, "Oh, I'm gonna bend her down or go down on her Red Shoe Diary style" or something like that. I forget what he says, but that made me laugh too. All these '90s references. But anyway, so they're like dancing to the 2 Live Crew video. And then, eventually they notice that his parents are dead and they're missing their eyeballs. And then they also find a couple ears on the floor which that was in reference to earlier in the movie when they were talking about all these different people that were getting killed. One of the people that got killed were the twins, and so they find a couple of two right ears on the floor that match. It's like, oh, the twins' ears in a bag of onion rings. And then what else happened? Oh yeah, and they also they find a clue. It's like a ripped shirt. Yeah. And eventually they realize that it's Anton's shirt. Like they're almost as lazy as him, but not quite, and that's kind of when he his hand, like suddenly his right hand goes berserk. And
and there was that funny little gag where there was just like, he was looking at they said, oh, it's a clue, and then he noticed it was his shirt and he kind of walked away, and there was ant written in blood on the floor, and his buddies were like, your parents were killed by ants? And Seth Green was like, no, you idiot. What is it, like a ghost ant? Something like that. Something dumb like that.
Yeah, like total stream of content. It takes them a long time to figure out like who the killer is. Like a really, really long time. But
I'm pretty sure he just says it was me, more or less.
Yeah. The killer was wearing me, because he looks at his hands and sees the black paint on his wrist. Yeah. And so then suddenly his right hand goes starts acting weird, and he grabs a beer bottle and smashes it and drives it right into the forehead of Seth Green, Mick, and kills him instantly. Then there's like a chase with him and Penub. You get this really cool French Connection reference, I guess, for lack of a better word, where he throws a spinning blade at him and chops his head off while he's at the top of the stairs. That was cool. And so he killed his best friend, and then his hand starts torturing him, making him like turn on the TV and watch all like stuff that involves hands, like Creepshow Theater or Chiller Theater or whatever it's called. And
he keeps trying to like change it to cartoons and shit.
Yeah. And then this cat starts attacking him, and suddenly his hand grabs the cat, throws it out the window. So he goes to find the cat, and Jessica Alba spots him, and that's then you get like an interesting moment where it turns out she's not very observant either. Like she kind of fits right in with him and his friends, because she doesn't really notice that his hand is acting differently from the rest of his body. But his hand starts groping her and being all crazy, and then it starts trying to kill her, so he has to tie his hand to the bedpost, which of course she interprets as like kind of a come on.
Ooh, kinky.
Yeah. It felt almost like a scene from Cool World or something. Just something that would have been written by 14-year-olds. Just like a weird sex scene. But so then he goes back. She invites him to the dance, like the Halloween dance or something like that. Or no, I don't remember exactly. She says, let's swing by the dance tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah.
So that happens.
Yeah, her parents came home, and so she's like, let's go to the dance and get out my window. Yeah.
Right. And so then her parents show up. That's right. And so then he goes back home. He buries his friends, his mom and dad. He's like talking to them, doing the whole funeral thing. And then like basically, long story short, Mick and Penub come back from the dead as living zombies, knock him out with a shovel. So then he wakes up.
I don't get that part though. Like, why didn't his parents, like, if it's something to do with killing that, why didn't his parents wake up too or become zombies too?
Because they decided to ascend the stairs.
Go to the right. They're talking about the white light in the tunnel. Yeah, and they were just like, "Nah, let's not."
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, this bright light was playing, and all these angel voices, and this really uncool music, like Enya. Another '90s reference.
Yeah.
And so they forgive him for killing him, because they kind of realize by this point that he can't really control his hand.
They also kind of don't care anymore since they're already dead. They don't give
Yeah.
a shit about what's going on around them anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Now they're undead, so they're watching like Night of the Living Dead or whatever, and I think later on they're even watching Dawn of the Dead. And let's see, there's also at some point, like Anton basically decides that he's fed up and decides to cut his hand off, and the first thing he tries to do is a bagel cutter.
Well, that's before the cops show up. The cops show up before he does that. Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically Anton and his two buddies, they decide to just not do anything all day except watch TV and get stoned. So, it's nighttime. The cops look through the window and see his friend's dead bodies there. And they're like, oh shit, like we got to get this guy. He's the killer. And they decide to not call for backup,
Because they wanted the credit.
Yeah, they wanted to become heroes. And you already know that's going to lead to a bad outcome, but
and this is also because it sets up how he kills one of the cops. He goes to the there's another character across the street, like a metalhead type dude that fixes cars and shit, and he's just because he listens to metal, they assume he knows about Satanism and possession.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's like, I remember the first time you see him, he's like macking on a high schooler. So you already know what kind of person he is. It's just somebody who will screw anything that moves. And so Anton kind of chases him to a fast food joint and starts talking to him on the speaker.
Yeah.
Which actually a lot of it is because of what his hand is making him do, though. So.
Yep, and then that's where we get the title. Is he states, idle hand, devil's playground.
Yeah, which is a very, very literal title.
Mm-hmm. And that gives him the idea to start knitting when he goes home. Just keeps knitting.
Yeah, he starts sewing, crocheting with the knitting needles. The cops show up. They're like, "Oh, let's get you." And they try to get him to put the knitting needles down, but of course he doesn't want to do that because he's afraid that. Oh, before that happens, there's a funny bit. Where they show up and they panic and because the head starts talking, and so they shoot the head, and he's like, "Oh, I was gonna say you should do what they tell you to do, but now I think you should kill them." So now his friends are even telling him that he should just kill these guys.
Yeah, because his friend's headless. Like the one he chopped off is a headless zombie. Yeah, and he spends a good chunk of the movie being like with his head completely separate from his body. Like eventually they manage to attach it with a barbecue fork, but and duct tape.
It takes a long last time to do that. But
it was funny too because they ate some burritos and his like neck starts pouring out burrito juice and shit. So like just duct tape his neck.
Yeah, and somehow that works. Which actually, by the way, before I go on, I love the way the movie looks. It's got like these great like saturated colors that kind of remind me of like Suspiria or something, like lots of greens and oranges and reds. Mm-hmm. I just love that. So definitely a very Halloween looking movie, 100%. But yeah, after he kills the cops, he like stabs one of them with a knitting needle in the forehead.
He stabs him right like through the temple and then goes out the other end.
Yeah, exactly. Which that actually looked kind of painful. Like the effects in this movie are actually pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good horror effects and kills and shit.
Yeah, lots of good blood and guts. And he tasers the other cop in the face.
Like fries him.
Yeah, and that was pretty gnarly. And of course, Rob Zombie is playing on the soundtrack while it's happening. Which
Dragula.
Oh, by the way, yeah. Speaking of Rob Zombie, just a quick detour. Have either of you watched Monsters yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what'd you think of it?
It's horrible.
Of course.
I haven't watched it yet.
But I've heard it's like the same kind of humor as the actual show, which I haven't seen in like 15 plus years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
Um,
was not good.
yeah, the only reason I haven't watched it yet is because I couldn't stand the show. So I'm like nervous that it's going to be like the show. Like I want it to not be like the show, but it sounds like it's like the show.
Yeah.
And
I might watch it anyway, though. Yeah.
speaking of the monsters, the other side, Adam's family, apparently in the trivia section, at least it says this is the same hand that appears in the Adams family as the Thing, played by magician Christopher Hart. The hand in this movie.
That's so cool. I love that. There's a lot of good handwork in this movie too. Like, that makes perfect sense because like the hand that he had in the Addams family was very emotive. It was like a very like expressive type of hand, and this was similarly so. So
It's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. There's some good puppetry in this movie. Like they did a good job of like mixing puppetry and stop motion. They didn't do it a lot. There were only like a handful of shots here and there, but they look cool, you know? Like this movie had some pretty old school effects in it, you know?
Some green screeny stuff. Like you could tell one of them was like just a guy off like with a green suit on, but his hand was, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, the seams are are here and there on occasion for sure, but I don't know. I feel like there's enough going on that it's not like it doesn't really matter because the movie's so fast paced and it's got such a great energy to it. But yeah, eventually, after he kills the cop, that's what pretty much prompts him to decide to chop off his hand, which he tries to use a bagel cutter to do that. And of course, something happens with the bagel cutter that is similar to what happened when I actually had to try to use it to cut a bagel because they even make a reference to it in the movie.
Says it, yeah.
Yeah, the bagel cutters just don't.
They don't even cut bagels.
Yeah, they're like the most useless invention, maybe other than the English muffin cutter. Or English muffin separator. I don't even know what it's called. Useless. Some things just didn't need to be invented. So then he just decides to hack it off with a typical butcher.
Yeah, and there was a little bit too because we did Halloween 3 or whatever. Seth Green, because they were going to use the turkey cutter buzz thingy, and he's like, I'm Leatherface or whatever when he turns it on. He just unplugs it too, so they're like, look what you did. You unplugged it. Like they couldn't go and replug it back in. Because I rewound it, like, why were they so mad if it was just unplugged? Did he accidentally cut the cord or something? No, it just unplugged.
Well, they didn't show. I mean, it looked like it got unplugged, but there was a short circuit sound effect that was like kind of put in like when it went unplugged. So I just kind of decided they were trying to imply that it got short circuited, but they didn't show it though. So it's like one of those.
Just looked like it got unplugged. Yeah.
Yeah. They could have just plugged it back in and then chopped his hand off. So, but I did hear like a weird like type of noise or something, or just type of what noise I'm talking about. So yeah, he decides to chop it off with a butcher's knife, which of course his hand won't let him do. So he gets one of his friends to help him hold it down.
Yeah, his head bites it down the head.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Turned into like a whack-a-mole with his hand and a butcher knife. So
yeah,
got his friend to bite down.
Devon Sawa does a lot of great physical acting in this movie. It's actually like pretty impressive. A lot of it. Like I forgot how physical his performance in this movie was. But yeah, so he chops his hand off. One of his friends tells him that he screams like a girl, which he kind of does actually. He goes, ah!
Yeah.
And then what happens after that? Then his friends are like, we'll get some adhesive and and some burritos. Yeah, we'll be right back.
He has to, first, he does. But first they cauterize it with an iron that was unplugged.
Yeah.
They just grabbed an iron and caught her, and it worked. Apparently, unplugged and no time to heat up or anything. So
That was hysterical.
they have so much inconsistencies with electronic appliances being plugged
Yeah.
in.
This kind of reminded me a little bit of like a Sam Raimi movie, a little at points
Yeah.
like that.
I
Almost
did,
reminded
yeah.
me of something like from that Crime Wave movie that we watched. Yeah, that was funny. It also kind of reminded me of My Boyfriend's Back a little bit, like with the body parts falling off or whatever it was, or I don't remember. There was something going on, like there was the neck thing, and then also wasn't there like the fact that they're dead kind of caused them issues. Like at one point, doesn't Seth Green's like because the beer bottle sticking out of his forehead, it gets like stuck on something. At one point.
They're in like in the vents, and like it's
Oh
caught
yeah,
on a pipe in the vent or something.
that's it. Yeah. And so let's see. So yeah, then then they hit the road. Anton ends up having to kind of fight off his hand because now his hand has been cut off, but it's alive and is now trying to kill him. And so he picks it up, throws it in the microwave, hits the 1 minute button, which doesn't do nearly enough damage. Like that kind of was that was kind of a curious moment, is like, what would have happened if he had if he had left it in longer? Would it have just been like a skeleton hand killing people or something, like, or like a burnt up, roasted, disgusting, like maggoty thing? I don't know. Like it just, yeah.
I don't know. It did seem to regenerate as well after that. Like it did, because it looked all burnt and crisped up, but when it was like at the party, at the dance and shit, it looked more zombie like.
Yeah, and at one point the hand even like sharpens its nails into like full blown claws.
Yeah, with a pencil sharpener. That was funny.
Yeah, that was funny. But he puts it in the microwave, but he doesn't really have time to do much else because Jessica Alba shows up. So he kind of quickly puts a baggie over it or something and runs out the door with her. They are kind of on their way to her friend's house, but he has to go back to the house to deal with the hand. But unfortunately, by the time he gets back there, his friends have already shown up and they let the damn thing out of the microwave. So
yeah, and it just flies out the window.
yeah, and they're just standing there like, what the hell was that? And like, or they just like shrug or something.
Yeah.
And let's see. And then around this time, the druid lady gets in touch with the I don't even know how it happens. The heavy metal dude. She gets in touch with him, starts talking to him about
They were bowling.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, she shows up at the bowling alley for some reason. To like, I think she's trying to find the hand, and she's looking around at all the hands, like looking to see if any of them misbehave or something. And then she starts talking to the heavy metal guy by chance, and she basically explains like this demon is going around trying to find the laziest people that it could possibly get in contact with to possess their hand, so that it can go incognito. Because if the person's lazy or stoned all the time, that they're not necessarily going to notice that their hand is going around killing people. Like is, I guess, the demon's whole spiel, which is true. Because as you see at the beginning of the movie, Anton murders his parents in cold blood and doesn't even realize it. But yeah, he brings up Anton, the fact that he saw him at the fast food place or whatever it was. So, he's going to take her to where he lives. So they're on their way there. And meanwhile, something happens. Anton and his buddies, they're like leaving the house and end up stealing his Ford. Well, wait a minute.
Car, yeah.
Oh, that
Truck.
was it. Yeah. Yeah. They steal his truck and accidentally bump back into her. And she goes flying like 10 feet.
And they're like, what was that? I don't know. Drive off.
They don't notice they're running people over. They don't notice they're letting hands out of microwaves.
And he has no right hand, and it's a stick shift. So like Seth Green's shifting while he's driving.
Yeah. It's so funny. And then and probably one day the whole stick shift thing that might date this movie, because it seems like a lot of companies aren't doing shift cars anymore. So that's another thing, that this movie is an artifact.
Mm-hmm.
It's an artifact of its time. But anyway, so let's see. The hand kills a couple people in a car. You get a hot sex scene where the lady takes her shirt off, and even as a gay man, I must admit she had a very good looking set of breasts.
Yeah, and he's like groping him, and then a third hand comes up, which is the demon hand, and starts groping him as well.
Yeah, which is like pretty crazy, and she's kind of into it at first, but then when she realizes that it's a disembodied hand, she flips out. So it kills her. It like breaks her neck, and then it kills the other guy. I don't exactly know how. It looked like his head exploded or something. It was too bloody to really see.
Yeah, I don't exactly remember.
Yeah. They get to the school. Anton gets into this pretty epic fight scene with the druid lady. I didn't expect that. What was that all about?
Yeah. Because she said she had a way to stop it, and I guess just stopping it was killing it with a knife, killing the host with this special knife.
Yeah, but it takes her a whole 2 minutes to realize that he's missing his hand. Nobody in this movie is observant at all. That's why it's taking her so long to find the damn demon, because she doesn't notice shit. Like, but so they're at the dance. There's this whole thing going on where like the two zombies go in and start kind of flirting up with the girls while they're trying to find the hand. Penub actually ends up, doing pretty well for himself, while Seth Green's trying to kind of take it seriously. I guess the girl's really into severed heads or something. I mean, it was like one of those funny like things.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, I could have gotten it in tonight," and he's like, and Seth Green was like, "No, that wouldn't have happened. No."
Yeah, yeah. Because Seth Green is like, "No, you can't. You're dead. That's necrophilia."
It's technically illegal.
Yeah, that was it. And then somewhere in the middle of all this, the principal is dialing 900 numbers on the phone.
And phone sex. Yeah, so there's another dated reference.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. So
he's like, "Oh, I can feel. It's like I can almost feel you. Wait, I can feel you." And the hand pops out of his pants.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of like New Nightmare or something, when Freddy Krueger's hand comes out of the guy's like seat or whatever and rips through his crotch or whatever it was that happened. So let's see. And I think that, it's probably around this time that the hand sharpens its fingers. Yep. Anyway, so Anton is in the dance hall trying to get people's attention. He interrupts the Offspring,
who are playing want to get sedated or sedated.
Yeah.
Because it has that one line, "Can't control my fingers, can't control my brain."
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
That was hysterical. Yeah, I mean, it was actually kind of perfect. Like, you have Offspring playing at a school dance. This movie has such an epic soundtrack. It's got like Sublime, like but okay, so so he interrupts the Offspring to try to deliver an important message about his hand being on the prowl, and potentially killing people. And then his hand kind of shows up at that point and kills the lead singer of the Offspring, which I didn't expect. I forgot about that part. So so you get a cool
another little cameo too, music related at least, because I remember I read the little wikis. Tom DeLonge, the Blink-182 guitarist, was the drive-through employee that Anton pushes out the way and says, "It's your break time."
Oh, yeah.
He's like, "Oh yeah, thanks."
Yeah. Was he also the guy who he threw the knife? Oh no, that's the other dude, the employer who he throws the knife at, but the guy doesn't notice because he's too busy paying
he just
attention.
like ducks down and dodges it. Yeah.
Yeah. He's too busy like trying to get all the other people at the fast food joint to work to like pay attention to customers and stuff. This movie's got some really good wit. But let's see. So yeah, the guy from Offspring dies. The hand does a whole Carrie thing where it locks the doors and starts like busting the ceiling down. But Jessica Alba and her friend who was gonna jump on the headless zombie guy, they managed to escape into a vent. And then you get a pretty intense moment where they're trying to kind of descend and they're having to block a fan that's spinning like super fast. They end up blocking it with the costume of the because so Jessica Alba is dressed as the angel and her friend is dressed as the devil, so they end up blocking the fan with the devil shoe or something. And Jessica Alba goes down, but unfortunately the girl ends up having a panic attack. The hand shows up, strangles her, ties her up to the ceiling fan, pulls the shoe out, and she ends up getting shot to pieces, which is a pretty sadistic death scene. Probably the worst in the whole movie, actually. Even though
that death scene had a lot of twists. I thought it was just going to be because it almost hangs her. She's trying to get her down, and then the shoe comes loose, and then it starts twirling back up and just takes her right into the fan.
Yeah,
twist in that one little death scene.
It was like a death scene out of a Dario Argento movie or something. Like it was just really
another. What
technical.
There was okay, so there was a quote from somewhere.
Yeah.
So this is just another little trivia thing. So in September of 2007, Seth Green told the Onion AV Club about filming this. The best thing about this movie was everybody working on it had a different mission statement. We all thought we were making a different movie. Me and the boys, the other, the bro actors, were convinced we're making a high school drama with some comedic elements, and we tried to make our relationship as lifelong friends believable. The director, Rodman, was attempting to make a throwback Italian horror film like Dario Argento flick. The writers really wanted it to be Heathers. The studio was test marketing and say they wanted the zombies to be cuter, more wacky antics. And apparently all the kids in the audience thought there should be more pot smoking. That pot should save the day, and somehow, Jessica Alba needed to get her top ripped off, and that's how the whole new ending got shot, where she
It's hysterical.
Where she got her top ripped off, and that's and pot saved the day. Like spoiler, but yeah, basically pot saved the day in the final scene.
Yeah, I mean the message of the movie is that what did Penub say? Once again, marijuana saves what would otherwise be a disastrous day or something like that. Yeah, and actually, this is pretty much the climax of the movie. So Jessica Alba escapes from the fan death trap, but eventually she ends up getting knocked out anyway. And
there was a funny scene even after that, but there's also like Devon Sawa was fighting the hand in like a arts and crafts room, and it like starts going into puppets. The hand does. I thought that was funny as shit.
Yeah. And I remember, it like goes into like a devil puppet at first, and then it goes into like another puppet. And like his friends, Panub and Mick are up in the vents, and they find the corpse of the devil girl all splattered up. So of course the headless guy, the Panub, gets sad because now he's not going to get laid.
He's like, Seth Green was like, "I told you weren't getting any tonight."
Yeah, it's just not fair. And Devon Sawa's character Anton manages to finally trap the hand, but just as he does, of course, the cover on the ventilation shaft falls on his head and knocks him out, or knocks him to the ground. And it's his two buddies, and they let the hand get away again. So they're so stoned that they keep accidentally letting the hand get away. And all right, so yeah, this is probably the part of the movie that most people are gonna more than likely have a problem with, which I guess is kind of the point. But so basically, the reason this hand is going around killing people and possessing hands is because it's trying to enact a ritual in which it's going to sacrifice an innocent person to hell, and it's chosen Jessica Alba to do that. So she's tied to a car that's headed toward a drawing of a pentagram, which I don't really quite understand how that would bring somebody to hell. But and I do understand this. There was a different ending originally, which we'll get into. But essentially, what happens? So she's about to get sent to hell. You get this hilarious sequence where they're fighting with the hand while she's slowly going closer and closer to the ceiling. And it's just like the longest ascent ever. Like, and what's even funnier,
he tries to like grab her down, and that's when he rips the whole midsection of her costume off, and so she's like just in her bra and underwear and shit.
Yeah, she's like crying and begging for her life, and then he reaches up to try and save her and accidentally rips her top off. So now she's like dressed in a bra and panties, and that's when she screams even louder. But then, yeah. So how does this even work? So somehow they
the puppet
trifecta.
Yeah, the puppet was so the puppet was glued to the operating of the winch, and then Seth Green finds this giant ass bong made out of like mechanical, like a carburetor or exhaust pipes and shit. He's like, I knew those auto kids were stoners and shit.
Yeah,
and P-Nub even says, oh, I made that. But Seth Green doesn't believe him at all.
Yeah. And don't think it has like a name, like something bong or something, like the Holy Bong or something like that. He like anyway, it doesn't matter. So so they smoke, and of course Jessica Alba at one point gets pissed because they're getting stoned while she's about to get sent to hell. But they managed to somehow get the demon stoned.
Yeah, because it's
in a puppet.
It's in a puppet, so yeah, the main character takes a hit and then just blows all the smoke into the puppet.
Yeah, and it affects the hand, and so it causes them to stop the machine from lifting the car up. And around that time is when the druid lady shows up, and Anton picks up the hand, throws it at her. She throws a knife at the hand. It impales the hand and goes through Seth Green, and then it kind of shakes and kind of busts into a powder of smoke. And then they're all kind of standing there like, what kind of bullshit is that? That's so anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Which of course in the original ending, what ended up happening was some kind of elaborate pool sequence in which the hand opens up a portal to hell, and it's kind of like this crazy sort of swashbuckling sequence where the friends and Anton have to rescue Jessica Alba and take down the demon, and it's just like this crazy thing. It's on the DVD and the Blu-ray if anybody ever wants to watch that.
I want to see it, but yeah.
It might.
I bet it would have been better. It seems like it would have been better.
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I gather, they couldn't decide between and based on kind of what you read of like Seth Green's quote, they couldn't decide whether to go with like a really dark, serious type of climax or a really comedic type of climax, because like it's kind of hard to do both, I guess. So they just ended up going with a purely comedic one where they just get stoned and defeat the demon that way, which I guess is kind of more or less in line with what the target audience was probably hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm sure a lot of more sophisticated film critics probably saw that and thought it was pretty lowbrow.
Yeah.
But and honestly, I used to find that ending pretty stupid, but I kind of like it now.
I thought it was fine. Yeah. I thought it was funny. Yeah.
Yeah. and even though like marijuana saves the day, it's, you know, of course, Seth Green, you know, he didn't get a big enough hit the first time, so he wants to get a bigger one. But of course,
He didn't
it
even
causes
get a
him to,
hit the
like,
first
trip or
time.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, but he like trips and hits the lever, which causes the car to collapse on Anton, which presumably breaks his back or breaks his legs or something.
His whole body. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was funny because like they before that it was just him and Jessica, like so he saved Jessica Alba, so they started making out and slowly walking under the car, and I was like, okay, I can see where this is going.
Yeah.
And then Seth Green actually like takes a hit and knocks P-Nub into the thing, and P-Nub is like, what, why is that my fault? I thought that would have came down way slower. I'm like, true.
Yeah. And so let's see. So he wakes up in the hospital. He's in a full body cast. Jessica Alba is writing hearts all over his cast. Somehow he's not in prison. I guess presumably they managed to sort of conclude that he wasn't the one who did all the killings. There was also something about the druid having ritualistic sex with the heavy metal guy. That happened somewhere in there too. But anyway, so they turn so then, you know, she leaves, and, you know, then his friends show up and they're ghosts because they've decided they're gonna be his guardian angels.
They walked into the light at the end of that scene and then became angels.
Yeah. So they've got angel wings and you know, halos, and they're doing the whole piece and all that. And then they turn off the light, and they did a practical joke on the ceiling where they were like, I'm under the bed, which is what the killer wrote at the beginning of the movie. So that causes him to scream like a girl. Then they decide to go walk into some nurses, or walk through some nurses.
Yeah.
You know, and they make a note to try to be careful not to walk through the men.
Yeah. There's some classic late 90s homophobic jokes in this throughout. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Although I guess the way I would, if I were a ghost, I wouldn't want to walk through any women. So personally, like, it makes sense. If you're straight, you wouldn't want to walk through men. I mean, I'm not offended. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's just about it. That's about the whole movie, you know. So overall, I don't know what you guys can share your thoughts on it. What do you guys think? You know, because I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit for what it was. It was funny. I was surprised at how decent it was.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah, it might be my favorite stoner comedy.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's up there. Yeah, it's definitely a good one for sure.
Yeah, I really love this one a lot, actually. Like, like I said, I used to think it was kind of dumb and not really that interesting. Like, I thought it was funny, but like, I always thought it was kind of more stupid than funny. But I don't know. Watching it now, I actually I got into the spirit of it. I don't know. It really won my heart this time around. So,
nice.
So yeah, I think I'd probably give it a solid 4.
Yeah,
4 as well.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah, 4.
Yeah, this
definitely
is an excellent Halloween movie.
Yeah, definitely worth putting on your watch list for Halloween.
Or 420.
Or 420. Yeah.
Yeah, because it honestly works perfect for both. Like,
yeah.
No, I'm glad I rewatched this. So, kind of makes me want to go back and rewatch more like shitty 90s movies, which I'm sure we can get back into doing before too long, but soon we got to talk about more Halloween movies first. So yeah.
And this movie actually had some interesting trivia on it too that I was reading through.
Oh yeah?
Like some of it I already read to you, but like it was filmed in the same neighborhood as the original Halloween.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
And the gym that was used was also filmed the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie in.
Awesome. From like 1999
Yeah.
or 1990 or whatever,
Yeah.
early 90s. That's awesome. Yeah, another Buffy connection.
Yep. It's funny shit.
Yeah. And I think this was by the director of Leprechaun 2, which is not a good movie, by the way. And then what was that other one? Unborn or whatever it was called? I never saw that one, but
No, I didn't either.
yeah. So yeah, I don't think I've seen most of his work other than Leprechaun 2. So, but yeah, he did a good job with this one. So
Oh, here's a funny one that I thought was interesting. Jack Noteworthy, who played the metalhead dude Randy, and Katie Wright, who played the girl, the friend of Jessica Albatania, did not know they were half siblings until they met on the set of this movie.
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they both were pretty memorable characters. I mean, even though what's her name, Tanya, like she doesn't even show up until like near the end of the movie. I don't know. She did a lot in those 5 minutes of screen time. So like she talked about how cute she thought Pinub was and how she never really noticed. And he was kind of charming. Like at one point there, when Anton is on the microphone, he's like saying, my hand's killing people. And then like I killed my 2 best friends right there. And then they're like, yeah, he hacked us up real good yesterday. Like just being really like sarcastic, but also serious.
Yes, telling the truth. But it's like, yeah, she's true. It's true.
Yeah. So yeah, like little things like that. I don't know. It's just a very likable movie. But I don't really have anything more to say about it, though. So I think I've said everything I need to say.
Yeah, go check it out.
Yeah, definitely do. All right. Well, until next time, have a good night, and go see the new Halloween movie so that I can then when I share my thoughts, next time, because I'm gonna probably see it pretty soon. I'll we can see if I agree or disagree with the majority.
Oh yeah, it's something.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night.
Have a good one.
See ya.
Greetings, B-movie aficionados.